Alrighty, y'all. So this is my first YouTube video at all. Basically, I'm working on a 2007 Mini Cooper S, aka an R56. This one is the turbo. It is a 6-speed manual. 1.6 liter, whatever. Anyway, um, I couldn't really find any good videos online or on YouTube or anything explaining about the catless downpipes. So I ordered one off of flashark.com and actually came pretty good for how cheap of a part it was. So it was a catless downpipe that I did install, and basically I didn't bother with making the video on how to do it. The videos that were already on YouTube pretty much explained how to do it. Now, I couldn't find the answers to the questions that I had in those videos, so this video is basically just to answer those questions. Now, just for reference, you got your heat shield and everything else right here, okay? You got that bolt, and that one on the top. There's one right down here on the actual heat shield itself. It's a pain in the ass to get to, but it is like way down in there. There's also one more, if yours is the same way. If you unplug your O2 sensor, that whole thing just slides out, and then you unplug it, whatever. You can actually move this metal bracket right here. You can literally just use a wrench and just push it to the side. Right here behind it, that's where that other bolt is. So there's 4 total that you want to remove. Never mind the engine, it's nice and dirty, I know. Anyway, once you get that removed, you'll see the downpipe right in here. There's the 3 bolts, one on the top and then one on each side. You'll undo those. Also, this may kind of suck, but basically right there, sorry, my puppy there. Right there is where the new downpipe is. I took the little grommet looking thing of the old downpipe. It's kind of like this little metal, gosh, I don't even know how to say it. It basically just brings the pipes together, helps for a better seal and no exhaust leaks. Anyway, so what I did was I unscrewed everything off the top, including the O2 sensor, yada yada. I went ahead and loosened the bolts that are on the top of the downpipe going into the exhaust port on the turbo, but I did not take them all the way off. Reason why is because on the underneath side, once you disconnect that, there's essentially nothing holding that pipe in. But I will say it doesn't really matter because you're going to have to do some finagling to get this downpipe out. Now, on this, which is the factory catted pipe, you can see you got this bung here for the lower O2 sensor. So here's your flange. Now, on this, you can see the little indents from it was that little grommet thing I was talking about. And it basically just kind of seals this up with the other piece. And then obviously you have your top with your top bung for these O2 sensor. So this factory bracket on here, you're not really going to have the same on that downpipe I ordered from Flashark. It's just not really going to be the same. So what you want to do is you at least want to cut one side of the bracket off. Once you cut that off, you'll be able to stub the pipe up from underneath. So you want to have the car in the air. Jacked up is fine. That's all I did is use 2 floor jacks. So you'll want to feed it from underneath, but here's the catch. The factory downpipe, you have to feed from the top. Now it's going to get hung up on all sorts of stuff. Don't worry about it. Just kind of be gentle and persuasive. You're not really going to hurt anything unless you're trying to or you're not paying attention, is essentially what I mean. Now, let's see. What else did I have? Oh, right. So when you're finagling the factory pipe out, the best option, honestly, is I removed the top stud and this side stud. I just unscrewed them out. You might have to use a pair of channel locks or something to kind of get it going. Once you do, and you kind of break the seal more or less on it, I was able to anyway use my fingers to get them out. That will give you the extra room you need to kind of pull it out and then start pushing that factory pipe down. Sorry, my dogs are playing. Anyway, once you get that out, like I said, you're going to factory downpipe in from underneath the car. So what you want to do is go ahead before anything, before you cut off any piece of the bracket or anything like that, you just want to kind of do a little test run. If you can get it in with the brackets on, perfect. If not, well, now you know. Anyway, all I did was I put the pipe here in the vise, grabbed the old trusty Sawzall, and there's the piece of the bracket that I cut off. Whoop-de-doo. And once I had that off, I was able to get the pipe in place. You'll have to do a little bit of persuading to essentially get it lined up because it's an aftermarket downpipe. It doesn't immediately just boom right onto the studs. So once you get that factory one dropped out, go ahead and thread your studs back in and then start trying to feed the new downpipe up into it. Once you have it, lined up and everything, and you're able to kind of finagle the pipe more so onto the studs, you want to go ahead and, what I did was I put the top bolt on and then that same side bolt and just kind of started tightening it down. The pipe just went pop right into place, and then you put on that third bolt, tighten both sides and then the top down, and that's pretty much it. Now, I will say, with the pipe that I got from Flash Arc, the bungs already have spacers. So, to answer this question that I had was about the O2 sensors. Yes, make sure the sensor right there, make sure that goes back in for sure, as well as the lower, because the pipe that I ordered already had built-in spacers, and guess who doesn't have a check engine light, no rough idle, none of that. So it seems to honestly be a pretty good part. Now, what I will say about it is, don't expect, at least on my car, a whole bunch of pops and crackles, because mine didn't have hardly any, except for maybe starting out a couple of revs, but when I let off the throttle, coming up to a red light or something, it's not pop, 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 bang, bang, bang. It's, nice and smooth. The other thing I did do is I went ahead and before I did anything with the downpipe, the first thing I did was I took it to a shop, had them cut off the muffler, and weld back in my original factory exhaust tips, right? Anyway, that gave it halfway decent sound. Still kind of sounded a little lame. So I took it a step further and said, screw it, let's straight pipe it. See how that sounds. A little bit more rumble, kind of a little crack here and there, but that was about it. So ultimately I was like, you know what, let's throw a downpipe on it. I want to see how loud it gets. I want to hear the turbo whistle on it. And well, it ended up being pretty sweet. I'm going to go ahead and put the camera on my little tripod here. And I'll go ahead and just fire it up real quick. And make sure I had my key. Go ahead and fire it up real quick and just kind of see, show you guys a little bit of what it sounds like. And let's see. Oops, messed that up. Again, this is my first video, y'all. I'm not used to doing this stuff. there's just a little test. You know, if I actually got on it, it's like late, so I don't want to be super loud here in the shop. Anyway, you will definitely hear that turbo whistle. It is freaking awesome. Be prepared for a bit of smell. It's going to smell like, well, it's going to smell like hot metal. Your vehicle may also smoke a little bit. It's kind of natural because it's just straight exhaust. There's no catalytic converter to catch any of the emissions crap, nothing like that. Now, I will remind everybody that doing a catless downpipe is technically illegal. Will you really get harassed about it? Depends on you and your driving style. I haven't been messed with or anything, but then again, I'm not driving around like a freaking riced out Honda Civic at 3 a.m. So, you know, I get on it when I need to get on it. Otherwise, you know, I try to keep it chill. Outside of that, it's a fairly simple process, but I will say, not having the answers to my questions, I really didn't know what I was doing. I kind of had an idea, but didn't know how tough it was going to be to really, you know, get that downpipe out of there, get the new one back in, you know, cut the bracket, yada, yada. So it will be a bit of trial and error. I really do hope this video helps some people. Yeah, outside of that, just do your best and prepare for it to maybe take 2-3 hours. But, you know, get your brew, turn on the radio, do something, you know, get to work. Also, one last thing I did want to go over was the tools that I used. So, you definitely want to have a magnet because this will come in freaking handy, especially for them hard to reach bolts. I used a 10 millimeter socket. Those are for the little bolts that are for the heat shield. I also used a 6-inch extension for it, and obviously just regular old ratchet. 6-inch extension was for some of the longer areas, and then for what was it? For like them smaller bolts, I had to get in there with this, especially on either side of the downpipe on the top by the turbo. You know, those side bolts, you'll definitely want a little shorty extension for that. I was too lazy to go to the toolbox to get a crowbar, so I used a couple of these freaking super awesome tent stakes. It did just fine prying it. They're solid steel. Who cares? Needle nose pliers. I use these mainly for the studs that are on that downpipe, just kind of to save my fingers. But the main thing I used to crack them was a decent sized pair of channel locks. You'll definitely want some of those. As far as the O2 sensors, I got this big 7/8 wrench, pretty substantial size. It is kind of a bitch to use, but in a pinch, this is the size you need for both O2 sensors. Use this end. Don't use that end. Anyway, let's see. Use that one. So, this 13 millimeter, I had started taking off that lower heat shield when I realized I could just push the pipe straight through. Don't take off the lower heat shield. Don't remove any bolts. You don't need this. Let's see. 16 millimeter, that's what you're going to need for the flange piece. This goes from the downpipe and runs straight through to the rest of the exhaust underneath your car. The clamp that's around this, use a 16. You'll want that. If you don't already, you should. Go get some picks. These will really help you getting the O2 sensor or sensors unplugged. I didn't really have to unplug the lower one, but the upper one, yes. But dude, just use a pick. Don't snap your stuff. Don't have to buy a new freaking O2 sensor. They're expensive. Another thing I used was this 13 millimeter. Oops, sorry. Yep, 13 mil. That's what you're going to want for the bolts that go right here. Oops, sorry, knocked the hammer in the way. The bolts butt this up to the turbo, 13 mil. That's what you want. Let's see. Didn't use that, and I didn't use that. Perfect. All right. Also, I used a mallet for a, persuasion, rubber mallet, of course. That way we're not denting anything. Because just in case somebody someday decides that they want to give me a ticket, I'm going to keep this original downpipe so that way I can make my vehicle quieter. And I think I about covered it. I really hope I did anyway. Didn't expect this to be this long of a video, but all the questions, all the answers, they're all right there. Just watch the video, study up, always do your research, do as much as you can to prepare yourself, for things like this, because you'll always have questions. I mean, even if you're not knowing what you're doing, or even if you do know what you're doing, you'll always have questions, run into bullshit. Just, hopefully this helps somebody out there, because I wish it would have been here to help me. Anyways, this concludes my first ever YouTube broadcast. Woohoo. So, thanks, guys.